This is the 4th week of our Adventure in Spirit program, which is about the story of our lives. It's about weaving the tapestry of love. And of course, that's the tapestry that God has planned for us, a story of awakening to the love that we already are. In the first week, being human, we talked about the tears in the tapestry of our life. The places, as we heard in that song, that we feel broken, disconnected, and divided from that love and goodness that's always there. But we forget. We get separated. We get distorted beliefs and thoughts that make us feel different, forgetting that there's something so much bigger. So we went from recognizing that, which we all have, and especially during these times in the world that seem so disconnected and divided and separate with all the things going on. We went to how do we mend the tapestry? And of course, being spiritual beings, we looked for the quality of God, all of those beautiful qualities that we could weave into our tapestry to bring it together, remembering that at the base of a tapestry, the foundation of a tapestry is always those pieces of yarn or thread that are one piece, connected, stable, whole, that you weave your individual colors into. So what quality of God were we going to weave into our tapestry to mend those tears? So we didn't feel separate and alone, but we felt part of the whole. And then last week we talked about such a powerful word, feeling, and emotion as weaving gratitude into the tapestry, to be thankful for, even though the external world may be messy and chaotic, that there's a blessing in everything, and we are a blessing. And we're here to not just be a blessing and to know that and be thankful for all the gifts that we have, but to be a blessing to the world, that there's a circular energy that we're to be a part of. I love that gratitude. It's perfect and beautiful, and we give thanks for that. And of course, today, the final week, is weaving love into the tapestry. Now, we could go into all the different definitions of love, because as human beings, we use love for everything. But the love we're talking about today is the highest form of love. The love that is a synonym to God. And beautiful Mother Teresa, who's here, here's what she says. She said, when God created us out of love. And that only makes sense because God is love. What else would there be? It had to be love. And he created us to love and to be loved. Now, this part is the part that I think is the most important. I mean, that was really important, what she just said, but I love this part. She said, if we could only remember that all the time, remember that, there would be no war, no violence, no hatred. How beautiful and how simple. A 4-letter word, love, if we could remember that. Wow. You know, Mother Teresa is, of course, a major person that we celebrate for all her givingness, her self-sacrifice, her willingness to love. But we had a crazy guy at our center, down in San Juan. He looked like a mad scientist. And he'd written a book that was quite famous. Some of you may have it on your shelf. I couldn't find it because a lot of my books are packed away right now. Power versus Force. And his name, David R. Hawkins. He's renowned, he passed recently, but a renowned psychiatrist and a consciousness researcher. And he said the ultimate goal of humanity is to reach ultimate full potential. And that's by lifting your consciousness and raising it out of the negative frequencies. And we can imagine what those are. Blame, guilt, hatred. We all know what the negative energies are. And lifting them, raising them to the energy of integrity and understanding and love. And he said, when you choose to be a loving person, and we choose it or not, I mean, we are, yes, God is love, but we've also been given this law of choice that we respond to, that it's our choices, the power of our thoughts and our minds and our decisions, that we get to choose what we weave into the tapestry, the colors we use, the emotions and feelings that go into it. And he said, when we choose to be a loving person, it releases endorphins in our brain, and it creates a feeling of happiness and love in our bodies. He said these loving thoughts create health, and negative thoughts create illness, not just physical, but mental and emotional. And so we're on this journey of lifting ourselves, realizing that the ultimate human potential is love and connection and goodness. It was so cute because when we didn't have all these rooms down in San Juan, we had just a big sanctuary area, and he was out on his break outside, and I walked out there, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he has a Coke in his hand. I was like, whoa. So I came in, and I asked the lady who was with him, I said, oh, what? Lifted consciousness. She goes, well, he has to do those things to keep grounded, or he'd be off in another planet. And I started laughing. I said, yeah, I can understand that. It was really cute. So that's the journey that we're on right now. We're on a journey I'd say a journey of awareness, because if we think, love and hate, faith and fear, all use the identical energy, the identical power, because we know there is only one power. There's just one power. So it's the identical energy that's being used for all of the spectrum of emotions we have, all of the different behaviors we have. There's just one power, one energy we use that we create from. It's our choice. So how do we uplift that energy that keeps us stuck and divided from our goodness? How do we uplift it? Well, first we have to recognize it. We have to look at where we are and where we're going in the world. We have to become self-aware in order for these distorted beliefs that we all have. There's not a person here that doesn't have a distorted place somewhere, distorted thought beliefs somewhere that we're working on. That's why we're here, to grow and expand and become. And we need to become aware of those distorted thoughts and where we feel separate from God and our good. Hafez, a beautiful 13th century mystic poet, he said, sit right down here now, rest, because your separation from God, from love, is the hardest work you will ever do. Can you recognize that? The hardest work we do is separating ourselves from the good that's ever present. All those thoughts, the chattering minds, all the stuff that says, you're not good enough, and all the stuff that keeps us separate, pointing our fingers out there when they're all pointing back, three or more are pointing back here. Those thoughts, the hardest work you'll ever do is your separation from God and from love. And he said, here, let me bring you some trays of food and something you'd really like to drink. And let my soft words be a cushion for your head, because your separation from God and love is the hardest work you'll ever do. We need to recognize that. We need to become aware of we're disconnecting from that allness and goodness and the possibility. Doesn't mean life's always comfortable at all. It just means there's every single thing I believe in this world has meaning and purpose for us. That if we take the time, at our very core, at the core of our being, there is pure, unbounded love and spirit. But it's not something that's just on top of our thoughts and mind all the time. We got to work at it. That's why we say spiritual practice is the most important thing we can do. Whatever our spiritual practice is, if it's prayer, meditation, listening to really good meditative music or spiritual music or fun music or anything, if it's a dance, if it's walking in nature, if it's walking on the beach, wherever it is that we feel most ignited. I'm going to talk about Howard Thurman in a moment. And I wasn't going to say this quote, I didn't think till the end, but I have to say it now because this is what I want us to do, all of us right now. He said, and I'll tell you all about him in just a second. He said, don't ask what the world needs. Just don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you feel really alive. awake, aware, expanded. Ask what makes you feel really alive and go for it. And I mean all of us. I know we can whine and complain and, oh, I have to do this, I have to do it. It's too hard right now, it's too this. No, the world, don't worry what the world needs, because what the world needs right now is people that are really alive in the midst of everything else. Not people that are moaning and complaining and feeling sorry for themselves and everything else. We can do that sometimes. We can find a friend to listen to it and do that. But what we need to do is find that passion, that love that ignites us inside of us. And he said, go for that, because people who have come alive can change the world. We can, and that's why we're here. You know what Ernest Holmes said? He said that love overcomes fear and hatred. I don't know if it overcomes, because I was thinking about that energy thing. I think it more transforms it, uplifts it. Love overcomes fear and hate. But we have to learn to cultivate that love within ourselves, because the only way, really, if we think about it, if God is all there is, well, God depends on us for its expression. We're the hands, the feet, the eyes, the voice of Spirit of God. We are that. That's why we're here. We're on this road that's ever evolving. And Ernest Holmes said something that's, I hope no one has tomatoes in their purse or their bag or their pocket. But he said we have to love everybody. We just have to. He didn't say, no, well, I'd like you to, or maybe you could. He said we have to love everybody. Right now, if you haven't started it, do it this minute. So I put a little addendum on there. I said, well, we don't have to like what everybody's doing, do we? We just love them, because Ernest Holmes went on to say there's always, always, always more good in people than there is bad. And I know Kirk and I went to a nice market this week, and there was a fellow there who was just having a fit over having to wear a mask and being very, very angry and disrespectful, and ripped off his mask and was flipping it at the manager, and I just stood there with such sadness in my heart. And I wondered what pain he was experiencing to have to do that in his life. And I can't say I didn't feel a little fear at the same time, but I also could feel that love and appreciation, and that's the kind of thing we're talking about. We need to learn to love everybody, no matter how badly they're expressing, behaving, that there's goodness in there. And when we love somebody, it brings out the good in them at whatever level. It does magic on its own. So that might sound kind of hard right now. So I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but Howard Thurman, an African-American author, wrote so many books. I was trying to count them and I couldn't. Author, he was a theologian, he was a mystic, an amazing man. He went to India in, I think, 1935 to meet Gandhi, because he knew that we needed to bring peace and togetherness in the world. And he learned from Gandhi about nonviolence. But Howard Thurman was not a social activist. He believed in the expanding spiritual connection and expanding your spiritual nature and supporting coming together in that way. Well, one of the books he wrote in 1971 was called Search for Common Ground. And I mentioned common ground a few weeks ago, how important that is, that you can't hate someone when you've found common ground. And he said that common ground is a twofold experience. It's a twofold journey. He said that it's a journey of personal exploration. We have to find out really what's going on inside of us. Where are our blocks? Where are our limiting beliefs? Where are our judgments and our criticism? Where's all that going on inside of us? We need to be aware of that, because awareness is the first step to change and growth and becoming something more. And the second step is building community. We do both of those here. We do a lot of work in our classes and our spiritual counseling sessions to do self-exploration, and then we have this work of building community and common ground, because he said when people come together with meaning, creativity, and shared experiences, it moves you past your fears, the differences of fears, faith, politics, whatever it is. It moves you past the differences and brings you together. And so that would be my call for all of us. Especially now when things are just so bouncy and chaotic and is just find common ground in yourself, number one, your personal exploration. Do your spiritual work to find that. And then find it in community, whatever way we can. It's different community now, and I know people don't like the Zoom and they don't like it, but whatever way you can, build small groups of community, because that's the thing that truly will save this world. And when you do your self-exploration, find that thing that makes you feel alive, makes you feel really alive. I was watching a Netflix, it's a little series that's come out called Move, and it's about dances from different countries. And one person has found a way to dance, and I was just so moved by the dedication and commitment it took for these people to do their work, and I found myself moving and dancing to them, and I thought, wow, that's a passion that's contagious. And I just read this Howard Thurman quote, and I thought that passion, when you have the thing in you that's really alive, it's contagious. And that's what we want to catch. It's not contagious like a virus. It's contagious like an upliftment, a change, something good that brings the best out in each other. And that's what you and I want to do. There's the last thing I want to say. So we can find common ground. We can love everybody. But it all starts with our spiritual practice. You know, St. Francis of Assisi, one of my favorite saints. I love him. We have a statue of him, and I always just love his love. I can feel it from all these years past. He said, God came to my door one day and asked me for charity. And I fell to my knees. I said, God, what can I give you? And God said, just love. Just love. And that's the call to us, all of us. You know, if we're having, issues trying to get connected with our purpose and our passion, with all the change in the world, love is always the answer. We have to love ourselves enough to listen to that inward voice, because the answer is always within. You know, that core place within us, that core place with that unbounded love and spirit, it has the answer. It's like an inner expert that lives in us. But we have to make room. We have to make room for it to show and grow and shine and be. So whatever the question is, if it's how do I heal these beliefs I have that are keeping me stuck, that don't serve me, how do I shift them? Love is the answer, always, still, right now. So that's for us. So I want you to close your eyes for just a moment, really quickly. It's Prayer Wall Sunday, my friends, and we have been in the consciousness of prayer, in the power and presence of God's infinite goodness. Remember, Jesus said 3 basic truths that guide our life, and let's just own them right here in this moment. Number 1 is God is all there is. God is life, and God is good. That divine giver, God, is always infinitely, eternally giving to us right here, right now, and always. And number 2, that power for good, which is God, is always available for us to use. No matter if we accept it or not, it's always there. So just feel that power as we immerse ourselves in it, and know that no matter what's going on in our life, there is that power for good that's right here waiting for us. And the last one of his truths that he shared, which may be the most important of all, is that God is the divine giver. But this divine giver is also the divine forgiver. The divine forgiver. And that love will heal everything. In time it will heal. So let's love ourselves unconditionally in this moment, that we can be the highest and best version of ourselves, so we can be the example of God unfolding, expressing as us, and we can love one another. Love is still and always the answer. We just simply release this knowing to the infinite mind of love and goodness, knowing it is returned to us tenfold. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Thank you all.